My name is Ataya. I'm the founder and CEO of Mumzworld. Mumzworld was the pioneer in the e-commerce vertical space for all things mother, baby, and child. Growth in an organization requires capitalization. Capitalization for an e-commerce business requires investors. The choice of investors is absolutely critical for the short-term and long-term fate of a business. In the early days, when we're raising our A round, I think we are similar to many startups where when you are hungry for cash, you become less selective about who you bring on board. And this is a big mistake that a lot of startups fall into. They feel that because they need the capital quickly, they can opt for any investor or any term sheet that lands on their table. We were very fortunate that we did not have that issue. In the A round for us, we had 6 term sheets. So we had the privilege of choice, so we could select the investor that was the right fit for us at that time. And at that time, because we were still a very young organization, because we were the driving force of that initial momentum, we wanted an investor that had retail expertise, that had brick and mortar expertise, that could open the doors for us in the retail landscape. But at the same time, we didn't need that early investor to be involved in kind of the decisions of the business. We wanted to continue running at 1,000 miles an hour. And so the choice of investor was based on these criteria. And that was probably the best decision we made. While we did have options for higher valuations, we didn't opt for these. And again, best decision we made because that would have been a short-sighted decision. Fast forward to the B round. Here again, investors try to negotiate terms that may not be the best for the founders. Again, the founders really has to put their foot down and make sure that the decisions they make are for the long-term benefit of the business. What am I building for? How long am I going to be building for? What are the consumer pain points that I'm solving for? And is this investor who's coming on board aligned? And if they are aligned, then great. If they are not aligned, regardless of the cash they're putting in or the great valuation that they're tempting you with, they are the wrong fit. And again, in the B round, we were very selective, and it took longer. It took us 1.5 years to close the B round because of that selective exercise. Again, the rounds that you seal in the early days pretty much seal your destiny, and they set the tone for what you as a founder will accept and what you will not accept, and they set the tone for how you will build your business in future. The things that we did right and the things that we did not do right, I'm going to summarize just a few points. Things that we did not do right. Let's start with that. One is, in the early days, we actually thought the more members sitting in that boardroom, the more information and the more resources we have at our fingertips, and that's a big mistake. In fact, the more board members you have, the more counterproductive it is, the more you enter into needless debates. So that was something that we learned very quickly, and we fixed that. We fixed that around year 4. So as you grow, the less people in your board who can question or veto decisions, the better. The second thing that we didn't do right in the early days were the reserved matters. So after every investment round, we had a list of reserved matters that are essentially checklists for the founders to report back to the board. When you are a large organization and you're spending more as a percentage of your business, it makes sense that these reserved matters become bigger because the risks are greater. But when you're a young organization, if you have a long list of reserved matters, it actually just slows you down. Instead of running with confidence, you're constantly checking, am I checking back with the board on this reserved matter? Do I need to check back with the board on the reserved matter? So it really does slow you down. Again, this is something that we fixed later on. The third is setting the tone for the right governance. So the CEO doesn't actually have to be the chairman of the board. And this is something that I learned later on. In fact, it's probably better that the CEO is not the chairman of the board. That's from my personal experience, because then you have an objective person sitting as a chairman of the board directing the conversations instead of it being the CEO. So these are the things that we didn't do right, and we learned the lesson and we fixed them down the path. What are the things that we did do right? So one of the things that we did do right is while every new investor wanted to be part of the board, we did stand our ground and we selected the investors that we felt would add value. So that's something that we did do right. And although we had too many members, the members that we did have were relatively more valuable than the ones we said no to. The other thing that we did do right is we were actually very diligent in our reporting. We were very diligent in our reserved matters. We were almost pedantic in ensuring that the board was always up to speed with what we were doing, with our wins, with our challenges, and that gave the board confidence that we were able to run our business. So that's something that we did right and something that we continue to do today. And the third thing that we did right is, always promise what you believe you can deliver. So we were very particular in committing to strategies and financials that we felt confident that we could deliver. Although they were aggressive objectives, we ensured that we had the right path to achieve these. So never over-promising and never really under-promising, being confident in what you can and cannot achieve.